Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Build Your Best Life. I'm Coach Deborah, and I am super excited to have you here because you could have been anywhere else. So I appreciate you joining us this evening. And our special guest today, Mcarthur Glaze. How are you?
I'm doing awesome.
Great. We're so happy to have you.
I'm happy to be here.
Well, everybody, please come on in here. Make sure that you like, comment, and share as we get started. Get your pads and pens out because we have a topic for you tonight that I consider a hot topic. You know, anytime that we have someone on here that can share a bit about themselves to help others, to me, that's a hot topic and it's greatly needed in this time and age that we are living today. So I cannot wait to get started. But you know, a lot of times, and I've always said, oftentimes said this, we see young men, especially on the streets or in different places, and they may be acting in a way you like, oh, why are they doing that? You sit and you talk about them, you run them up and down one end, but you never take an opportunity to go and step and have a conversation with that person to help them. And you may be a pastor, a mentor, a business person, someone that's been there and done that. And all they need is someone to teach them because they can't do better when they don't know better. But I think Mcarthur is going to share something with us tonight, and it will help everyone. Our topic is rest, restless and reckless.
Restless.
Restless and reckless. But Mcarthur, can you please just tell everybody a little bit about yourself and whatever you want to share at this time?
Well, I again thank you for allowing me on this platform. I'm always honored when the Lord will give me any chance to speak. My name is Mcarthur Glaze again. I am from Belgrade, Florida. I live in Dallas, Texas now. Been married 23 years to my beautiful wife, Kinye. We have 5 amazing children, and I'm a youth worker. I've been working with young people for probably about 20 years now. I'm a purpose coach. I'm a minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ, and I'm also I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a business coach. That's me kind of in a nutshell. And I love helping people. You know, I love God's people, and I love helping people. I love seeing people change their lives and transform their lives.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Good evening, Agnes and Coach Ricardo. Thank y'all for tuning in. We're going to get right to it. I don't want to put it off any longer. So let's go back in time, Mcarthur, and start out telling us about you as a youth, or as far back as you would like to go.
Wow, as a youth, my story is complicated as a youth, but it's inspiring at the same time. When I was a young man growing up in Belgrade, Florida, this is in the early 70s. I just dated myself, but this is in the early 70s, the boom of the crack era. And Belgrade is a migrant town. You know, a lot of sugar cane. People would migrate to the southern end to, you know, harvest the cane and the beans and the corn and all of these different, you know, produces that Belgrade produced because of the black soil, the muck. It can grow anything. And just so happened that my mom and dad was in this environment. But even though it's a migrant town where people migrated there, the economy there, I'm not going to say the economy was bad, but being that it was a small town, people still struggle financially because it's a seasonal town. It was only like 9 months of work. And then the other months, you know, people didn't have, you know, pretty much no work. So with those times, my mom and father, they was both on crack cocaine, both was heroin addicts. And during the time of my mother's pregnancy with me, she continued to use heroin and cocaine. And my father left her in that state. And I believe my mom became so extremely depressed. These are some of the reasons why she continued to use the drugs. And I would later find out in retrospect that my mom had her own trauma in her own life, and she was just trying to anesthetize her pain. And so my mom got so high one day that she forgot about me and left me in this, what we call a crack house. I was there about 3 to 4 days. They don't know if it was 3 or 4, but they know it was at least 3 days. And it was a lady that lived adjacent to Belgrade in a town called South Bay, Florida. And she was looking for her brother that she heard was dating my mom at the time. This is after my father. And when she came to their apartments looking for them, there was nobody there. There was no answer at the door. And so she went to the next door neighbors and knocked on their door and said, have you seen, my brother and his girlfriend, which was my mom? And they was like, I think they've been gone about 3 or 4 days now. We're not sure. So she walked off, but instinctively, she came back to the door and grabbed the doorknob. And when she grabbed the doorknob, it was unlocked. And when she opened the door, to her surprise, I was laying there. A 9-month-old baby had been abandoned for 3 or 4 days. Mm. It was so bad that they said the feces on my rear end was hard, and I had a dry chicken bone in my hand when she found me. So she didn't take me to the hospital. She didn't take me to the nursery, anything like that. She took me to the waiting car downstairs where her sister was in, and she took me back to this adjacent town to their mother, and they nursed me back to health. Long story short, my mom never came back. They could never find my mom. So the judge gave her a temporary order to keep me temporarily, but my mom took, so they could never find her. But they could never find her. So the judge eventually just gave her a full adoption. And she became the mother that I knew. And this became my family. But at the time, I didn't know this was my family. I didn't really know this was my family. I thought, wasn't my family. I thought it was my family.
Right.
But me being a dark complexion, a lot of, different people in the family would, pick on me. I was the joke. Kids joke. But they didn't realize the jokes, they were sticking to me. They was doing something to me, even though I was smiling on the outside. But on the inside, it was destroying me. Even though I smiled on the outside, I'm already saying something with that. But, and not only that, when I went to school, because of what I was experiencing at home, it caused me to struggle in school. I couldn't even focus. I couldn't pay attention. And the lady that raised me, Geraldine Jones, I love her. I love her to life. She's passed on now. She did a great job with me. She wasn't necessarily what you would call poor, but she worked. She was a single parent just raising me, and she did the best she could. And so there were some struggles there. There were some struggles there. I still can remember cold nights sleeping up on the rug, because we didn't have the beautiful blankets that everybody had. So I can remember sleeping under the rugs. I can remember going to the stove in the middle of the night, hungry, and the rodents would be running around. I remember that, running in the water, boiling the hot water to pour into the tub. I mean, we did all of that stuff growing up. So to say my childhood was challenging is an understatement. And so those things caused me to not be able to focus in school. Mm-hmm. And so because of that, I was labeled a bad kid. I was labeled a slow learning disability. Some people say slow learning dummies. Those was the jokes, but it was slow learning disability. So I rode the short bus to school, and I was picked on for that. So all of these things caused me to struggle with low self-esteem, insecurities, low self-worth. And then so when people saw my response to the way I was being treated, they saw the negative response, and they began to call me these names: crazy, stupid, ignorant, dumb. So I accepted those labels, and those labels became a part of my character. And those bad character traits led me to be incarcerated multiple times. Till by the time I turned 15, I was sentenced to 6 years in the state of Florida. I did 3 years in prison. I got out of prison when I was like 18 years old. But I was not rehabilitated. I just learned how to be a better criminal because I was 15 in prison with 40, 50, and 60-year-olds. They had me in prison with adults. And these men were seasoned. I was a child, probably about 130 pounds wet. I was a child. But I can even remember, as I back up really quick, I can remember standing in that courtroom in front of the judge when he was giving me the time. But because nobody had never taught me how to truly communicate what I was feeling, when the judge sentenced me to those 6 years, I couldn't even express to the judge all of the pain and trauma that I had experienced. It's like my words were playing hide and go seek with me because I couldn't find them. I couldn't say nothing. All I remember is him hitting that gavel saying, move him over to the bailiff, to fingerprint him and take him back to the cell. And the whole time I was over there being fingerprinted, everything that I wanted to say, I was saying in my head. But I couldn't get the words to come out of my mouth because I was shocked, number one, I was broken, number two, and I was scared, number three, being in this situation. And then they was using court terms, adjudicated guilty, and all of these terms, you know, file this and slash this and forfeit. I didn't understand none of those terms. It's like I was an immigrant in that courtroom and I didn't know what was going on. So when they took me back to this cold cell, again, I'm sitting there rocking, don't know what's going to happen, the fear of the unknown. I didn't know anything. Put me in, like I said, I do the 3 years. I get out with no education, still traumatized, still struggling with low self-esteem, poor education, poor communication skills. All of these different things was happening in my life. So I began to traffic cocaine. And traffic cocaine with a cousin of mine on Greyhound buses, to making $500 a trip, to making $1,000 a trip, to making $50,000 a day. And I became one of Florida's major drug dealers. Some people say drug kingpin, whatever terms you want to use. I'm not proud of that life at all, but that life gave me the validation that I was looking for. Because when I had the jewelry, the money, the cars, everybody wanted to be a part of my life. So I thought people loved me. It was the first time like I'm being loved. You know, I could take people, I could put money in their pocket. And so I fell in love with the lifestyle. I fell in love with the attention of the lifestyle, right? So I'm talking about me, but I'm talking about the youth that we see today.
Yes.
And my story. You know, mine was drugs. Mine was this particular route with my mother, but another child could be something totally different. So that's it in a nutshell. I could go on, but that's pretty much it in a nutshell and how I get to this place of being the person that I am. So I identify with the young people that they have labeled as crazy, ignorant, or, you know, gangbangers, and just people just throw them to the side. But the Bible said that when you've done it for the least of these, and these kids are considered the least of these. So I have a passion and a heart for what people call the least of these.
Right. That is so, I mean, you know, like I told you, I immediately ordered the book, your book. We'll talk about it a little bit later, The Roots of the Reckless. And when I was reading that part that you just talked about, being fingerprinted and wanting to say something and couldn't get the words out, I just had this lump in my throat. I was like, oh my goodness, you know, and it is, you know, and that story that you told is about Mcarthur, but
Right.
it is also about John and James and Trayshawn and all of those things. And people, you know, that, oh, he's bad, he's a delinquent. And they want to say all these negative things, but how many people take the time to stop and ask that child a question? They don't know how many children turn up to school, turn up to church, and haven't had a meal, and beaten the night before.
Right.
And so tell us a little bit about how that rebellion spirit comes out in our young men, and people are not understanding that they are angry, they are hurt, and they don't know how to communicate. Can you tell us a little bit about how they probably feel?
Absolutely. Absolutely. A lot of times when you see an angry child or when you see a rebellious child, a lot of times there's a root cause for it. I am the why guy. I'm the why guy. So for instance, in my front yard right now, there is a tree in my yard. I have two beautiful trees that's sitting in my flower bed. You know, one of the things I do for, you know, a therapeutic thing for me is yard work. You know, that's funny to the friends that know me, but it brings me so much peace. You know, it brings me so much peace. So I have this beautiful tree in my yard. But I noticed in the center of the tree, it started to die. There's a dead spot. So most people will cut that spot out so it's not an eyesore to visitors, right?
Right.
But I know for that dead spot to be in that little area of my tree, there's a root cause for it. So instead of cutting it out, I investigated it. I had a yard guy to come over and he told me and explained to me what it was. So why cut it out and deal with the symptoms when I need to really discover the problem that's in the roots. You see
That's
what I'm saying? So
good.
that's what we see with kids. A lot of times, what the tree is displaying is the result of a disease in the roots. And when you see kids that are displaying anger, carrying guns, and smoking weed, and drinking, getting drunk, and being reckless, don't want to listen to school, there's a root cause for that. And for me, the root cause was I was low self-esteem. I didn't believe in myself. So the anger was a way for me to keep people away from the hurting little boy that was in me. The anger was a way to keep people away from me and off of me and not seeing the disability that I had and the inability that I had to read and write. So when the teacher would call me and say, McArthur, it's your turn to come up here and do the problem, 5 times 26. But because I don't want nobody to know, I don't know what 5 times 26 is, I displayed anger. I would kick the desk, throw the eraser towards the board, and kick it and begin to curse the teacher out. Why? Because I know that's going to get me put out of the classroom. And now my disability or inability is not exposed. So a lot of times when you see this behavior, it's kids hiding the root cause of what they're really dealing with.
All right. Wow. And that's something. And we see it day in and day out. And again, people say, well, we're gonna have to do something about the state of the world. We got to do something about these young men that's doing this and that. But still, maybe a Ricardo Miller or a Derek Durden or a Mcarthur Glaze will stop and talk to a young man, have that conversation, say, hey, I'll mentor you. But of all the millions of men that are out there and successful, how many are stopping to say, hey, young man, I was just passing by and saw you over here. You don't have to go and say, well, you're doing this wrong and that wrong. No, have a conversation. Hey, what do you do? Do you work? Do you go to school? Well, this is what I do. I lay bricks. I work for a welding company. I'm a gardener. Would you like to, make some money with me? And then
Right.
you begin to have a conversation. There is
Right.
so much that can be done instead of bashing.
I absolutely agree with that. And one of the things, Coach, that I like to do, one of my approaches is when I first got into mentoring, and I used to take these mentoring, these different trainings. I left those trainings frustrated every time because the trainings that they was given, they didn't work. They didn't work. Going to the basketball court, spending time with a child, just shooting basketball, and then dropping the child off to say, I did my part. That's I don't think that's mentorship. Mentorship to me is taking a true invested interest into the child. So it's called mentoring. It should be men touring into the lives of each other. So as I open myself up to this child opens himself up to me, and we build a mentoring bond, taking a true invested interest into the child. So for me, I believe in purpose. I just told you I'm a purpose coach. Purpose, and process. That's who I am. I believe in purpose, process, and destiny. That's it. Those are the 3 mantras that I live by. Purpose, process, destiny. I live by that. I sleep by that, and I sleep with that, and I'm gonna die with that. So I believe is when we get kids to focus on their purpose. And how do you know what their purpose is? How do you find that out? By spending quality time with that child, taking a true vested interest in that child, and don't try to steer the child into doing what you want them to do.
That's right.
Find out what they have an interest in, right? I'll give a quick story. I had a stepdad come to me one time, and he told me, he said, man, I can't get, my wife's son to like me. I tried this, he just don't like me. He don't like me. And I said, what do he like to do? And I think he said something about, it could have been fishing or something. It was something he liked to do over race cars or something. I think it was race cars. I think the kid had an interest in race cars. He was like 16, 17 years old. I said, so what do you do when you interact with this child, with your stepson? And he named all the things that he liked to do. I said, that's the problem right there. You're trying to pull him into your world instead of you stepping into his world. I said, if he like race cars, won't you go to a race car event with him? Go study race cars. Go take a true invested interest in what he likes to do. not what you like to do. Same thing one time when I had a truck route. I was working for a company called Monterey Provisions back in 2014. And I was new on the route, but the company had a bad reputation with this particular store, Sprouts Farmers Market is what it was. So the first day I came in, I spoke to the receiver. He didn't speak back. I came in the following week, I spoke, he didn't speak back. I reached out to shake his hand one time, he wouldn't shake my hand. And I couldn't understand, like, what's wrong with the guy? So by the fourth time I came in, I heard him and another employee talking about fishing. And he lit up like a Christmas tree as they was talking. Mm-hmm. At the time, I didn't know a lot about fishing, even though I came from Belgrade, Florida, the home of fishing, by Lake Okeechobee, but I was not really a fisherman. So what I did, I came home and studied fishing. I got on YouTube and learned some things about fishing. When I went back on my route, I reached the paperwork out to him. He reached out to grab it. I snatched the paperwork back and grabbed his hand. He tried to pull his hand back, but I held it tight and I started talking about fishing. He lit up like a Christmas tree. And me and that man built a bond like you would never believe. I became one of his favorite drivers. And every time I came to that store, I never made it about me. I talked about fishing, whether I wanted to hear about fish or not. I learned about bait. I learned about boats. I learned about fishing lines. I learned about things I had no interest in. But now, 8, 9, 10 years later, me and my son, that's our thing. We're fishermen now. You see what I'm saying? So it's taking a true vested interest into the person.
Yes, that's good. And that's, hi, Melvin. Thank you for tuning in. And that's the thing. We have to start listening.
Right.
You say you want the person, the child, to listen to you, whether it's like you say, it's a blended family or whomever it is, or somebody that you want to reach out to. But it can't be all about you. You have to listen.
That's right.
Well, you need to know what happened to them. What's going on. Something's wrong. But if you're doing all the talking, how are you gonna find that out?
Know it.
And till we get to the end of this show, not to rush you, but I can't wait for you to tell everybody about this book. But in this book, in chapter 2, you talked about the brain. I mean, this is a great book, y'all. I gotta tell you. I want you to talk a little bit about how trauma impacts a person, and then how they begin to rebel and how that leads to being reckless.
Right. Great question. Scientists say the brain is not developing to the age of 26. Some say 27. And so when a person, according to science, when a person experiences trauma in the developmental stages of their life, some scientists say the brain stops developing at that point. So if you have a 12-year-old child that experienced trauma at 12, scientists are saying that part, the reasoning part of that person's brain, it stops developing. So now people will say, how could the kid make this decision? How could this adult man make this choice? What was he thinking? He don't even have objective reasoning, because there's some trauma somewhere in his life. Trauma affects the brain so bad that I was affected by trauma so bad. I like to share in stories. I know you probably see that.
Oh, bring it.
But I remember I moved to Dallas in 2011, September 2011, and my wife and kids came up in December of 2011. But when we came here, the noise in my life quieted. All of the all the people that I had around me, I was in obscurity. No more noise. I'm not the man anymore. I'm the man in Florida. I mean, I'm the man. Everybody's praising me. But I'm 1,400 miles in Texas. Nobody know me, right? So I'm dealing with that mentally. But as I'm dealing with that, for the first time, I am noticing behavior patterns that I don't like. I'm noticing these behavior patterns, and I'm looking at these patterns, and my wife is calling me out on these patterns. Now, you have to remember, I'm a kingpin. I'm feeding everybody. Everybody eating out of my hands. So nobody would dare challenge me in Florida. Even my dry jokes was funny to people when you have all the money. So, but for the first time, I have a woman calling me out on my mess. So at first, I'm looking at her like, you know who I am? The pride in me. Like, do you know who you're talking to? But you know what? It was all set up by God. Because I tell people, I didn't meet me till I moved to Dallas.
Wow.
I lived 3 decades and never met myself. I didn't meet me till I got here. So one day I had I don't even know what happened. My wife said something, I lost it. I lost it on her and the kids. Lost it. No physical violence, just screaming with my voice and yelling. I can't even tell you what I lost it about. But it was a trigger. It triggered something in me from my childhood that was never healed. So watch this. I never been to therapy. I never went to a counselor. I did none of that. But because of the behavior that I noticed in that moment, it sent me on an investigative trail to find out what was going on in my life. And the first thing I began to research is the brain of somebody that was exposed to drugs in the womb. And when I saw all of these symptoms and I looked at my life and they lined up, research in my life lined up, I knew then the root cause of my issues. And I knew then that the trauma that I had experienced as a child from the womb had affected me and followed me all the way to my adulthood, all the way in my marriage, all the way as a father. And I knew I needed to do something about it. So people, seek me out now for my wisdom and knowledge on trauma, but they don't realize I never went to college for it. I speak on trauma now because I was trying to survive. I was trying to figure out what was wrong with me. Mcarthur Glaze, I knew I had a problem. And I had a problem. So if I wanted to keep my marriage, if I wanted to be a great father to my children, if I wanted to be a great minister and a great leader in the body of Christ and in the world, I had to fix this issue. So I was willing to do the work. So trauma is a big, big thing. And we see it in the lives of so many children today in the way that they respond to the world.
Wow, that is so good. That is so good. And people don't realize, I always say you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
But people that have not witnessed it or been through it, they don't realize that.
Right.
We say things to people, we do things to people, and we never understand. It's not just in that moment because we were upset, we were mad, even the words that we can say to people, you black, you ugly, you look like your daddy, you're not going to ever be anything.
Right.
Those things go all through life, and that causes trauma. You are traumatized,
Right.
Wow, did they hate my dad that much that they're saying these things to me? And it impacts our people. And I keep going to my young men, but that's like a deadly disease. It really is. It's going through the nation, the cities, the communities. We need our men to step up and assist.
Right.
Like, I didn't go to school for it, but life will teach you some things, right?
Yes. Life will definitely teach you some things. Life.
Yes.
You have to have patience to work with people that has been exposed and experienced trauma. It's not a call for everybody. You have to be a unique person, and you have to be a person of great patience, and you have to be a person of great understanding, and you have to display great listening skills, and you have to be unjudgmental of whatever the person want to tell you, because a lot of people that's experienced trauma, they have some stories that'll blow your socks off. And so at one point in my life, I used to get upset with men, like what you said, men need to come and help mentor these boys. And I used to get upset with men. But then God had to show me, you can't take nobody where you've never been. So, if Moses never spent 40 years in the wilderness, how do he take the children of the wilderness into the wilderness? How do he do it? He had to spend 40 years out there first. So when he went back and got them, he could say, don't eat that cactus because that one will kill you, but you can eat that one. Don't drink from that rock because that rock is poisonous. So you need somebody that's blazed the trail already. So you need like the Harriet Tubmans of the world to say, I've been there. Now let me show you out of trauma. So it's not for everybody.
Yes, that's that definitely. But that I actually recently found out just the depth of that. I did not realize, like we have people that are alcoholics or been addicted to drugs, and then they get into mental health and they are going through therapy. That there is actually counseling and classes and a whole segment just for people that have gone through trauma.
Right.
I just
Right.
found out that it's
Right.
just
We have a lot of pastors that has unhealed trauma. We have a lot of prophets. We have a lot of CEOs. We have a lot of fathers. We have a lot of mothers that have unhealed trauma. And trauma is running rampant through our communities. But thank God that people are now starting to really seek therapy. It's not like a taboo thing anymore. People are really starting to seek help now, and that's a good thing.
it's a good thing. Yes. Yes, and if you just joined us, you have missed the first part of a great conversation. We're talking about Restless and Reckless with Mcarthur Glaze, and it is a great conversation. So if you missed any of it, please go back on YouTube or Facebook, Build Your Best Life, and view in its entirety. So as we're talking, what can you tell parents to look for as far as warning signs? Because even though they may have contributed to some of this stuff and they may not have, but what are some of the signs that they can look for and recognize so that they can know that they need to seek help for their children?
Well, the destructive behavior, behavior patterns. There's a difference between having a angry outburst and then having patterns of anger. It's different, So I would say watch these patterns, and when you see certain patterns, be honest about it. But a lot of parents, they are blind to it because they don't recognize their own trauma, and they've lived with their own unhealed trauma for so long that they see it as normal behavior. They've normalized it. Oh, that's just little Johnny. Oh, that's just how he is. Oh, my brothers are like that. Oh, that just runs in my family. So you guys have a family bloodline and history of trauma, and you've accepted it. So a lot of times parents can't recognize it because they don't even see the trauma in their own life. They live in denial. So when you see these signs, and when the school is constantly calling you, telling you that Johnny is doing this, that Keisha is doing this, that Tina is doing these things, there's nothing wrong with getting them evaluated, taking them to get professional help to be evaluated. It's nothing wrong with that. And so I think parents just have to come to grips with there's a possibility that I have my own unhealed trauma that I need to deal with so I can help my child as well.
Good. And for those viewing, if you have any questions that you want to ask Mcarthur, if you can put it in the comment in the chat section, we'll take time for that before we close out. So if you could sit across from your 15-year-old self today, what would you say to yourself? What do you think that you would do differently? I mean, I know you can't erase what happened to you, but what would you do differently?
Well, what would I do differently? Nothing. I've been asked that question a lot of times because I realize it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. So I think the reason that I sit here today is because of the journey that I had. Even though the journey was difficult, even though the journey was painful, the pain shaped me to be the young man that I am today. The pain is my driving force. So it's just like an athlete, LeBron James or Michael Jordan, whoever you feel like is the greatest, even though we know Michael Jordan is, but whoever you feel like is the greatest, it was painful all those nights in the gym, missing all those shots. It was all those times in the dark that nobody saw them working out, the lifting of the weights, all of those painful moments when Michael Jordan got cut from his team, when LeBron James had to move around to all of these different houses and stay with all of these different people, Michael Jordan losing his father. It's all of these different things that shape you to be the man or the woman that God called you to be. So for me, I wouldn't change nothing. And people say, you wouldn't change nothing, all that pain. No, Because if it wasn't for the pain, will I be Mcarthur Glaze that I am today? Will I have a passion for kids today? Will I have a passion for people and loving people? I think it's the pain that gave me the passion to be compassionate for other people. I'm getting a little hype. I'm trying to keep myself calm.
Go ahead. I feel it.
I'm getting excited because the process is what it is. See, we want the destination so bad. We want to get to the destination so bad. So when we on flights and the pilots say, oh, we gotta take a detour and go around the storm. We have to go around and we're gonna be on the flight another 30 minutes. People get upset. People get upset. So you want the pilot, just because you're in a hurry to get to the destination, you want the pilot to go through a storm that can possibly kill everybody. All because you don't have the patience to take this detour in life. It's the process. It's the process. It's the journey that shapes us. It's the journey that prepares us to do the things that we want to do in life. And we're called to do in this life. So I wouldn't change nothing at all.
All right. And it also makes you be more grateful.
That's right.
Gratitude.
That's right. A lot of gratitude. A lot of gratitude. I am so grateful that God even chose me. That he will even choose me. Because there was a season in my life I used to ask why. I asked God why all the time. Why? Why I had to be born to two parents that were on drugs? Why, God? Why? And I would cry about it. And I would get out. It'll go from crying to anger. And I would get so angry, when I would see other people that had mother and father in their lives. I would meet people that had these strong bonds with their fathers. I always desired that. I used to always tell my kids at one point in my life that I would never know how you feel to have me. I would never know that. My father was never in my life. How do it feel? I rode with one of my children one day. I said, man, how do it feel to have me? Like, how do it feel to be with your dad? I really want to know how this feels. And then when I began to do the work that I do, a light bulb clicked on. It made all the sense in the world. It's like, why not you? Yeah. Why not you? Why not you, Joe? Why not you, Joshua? Why not you? Why not you? Somebody had to do it. I had to call somebody to do it. So I'm just grateful to be here. And I just thank God for the growth. It was a painful journey. A painful journey. I'm not going to lie to you. Many nights, 10, 11, and 12 years old, wanted to commit suicide. Many nights, 3 suicide attempts. Many nights, just not liking myself, hating myself, all because I accepted the labels that people placed on my life. But now I understand I was chosen for this. I was picked for this. And then God had to build me for this.
Yes. And we appreciate it. So good, so good, so good. And thank everyone for all the comments. Everybody has been enjoying this teaching. Good information. And like I said, you have enlightened us, because when you don't know what you don't know. So you have told us a lot that a lot of people did not know, had not thought about. All great information. Do you have any closing thoughts, that anything we didn't talk about that you want to mention? Or
well, I would just say thank you for having me on the show. I'm honored, truly honored. I'm grateful that you would even choose me, to be on your show. And my closing thoughts would be, take this information. I'm not trying to sell a book, but if you want to know the why behind the reckless behavior with these children, this is the book for you. And so I would just encourage you to purchase the book. And shameless plug, not trying to sell a book, but I put my heart and my soul in this book because I lived it. So it's not coming from somebody that sat in a chair at Harvard, which I don't discount what they've done in the time that they've put in their studies, but I lived it. I carry the scars in my body from the trauma that I experienced. And so I would say, be patient with kids and begin to look at them different. So if you see little Johnny or little James or Tasha or Keisha or Kimberly, if you see them displaying destructive behavior, ask them why. Don't judge them. Ask them why. And you'll be shocked once you build a relationship with them. taking a true invested interest in them. When you build that, you will be shocked to know what's in their history and what's in their past and the trauma that they may have experienced. It will shock your socks off. And you just might be the person to walk with them, because I believe every child needs a loving adult to walk alongside of them.
Most definitely. Thank you so much. And he said he's not trying to sell these. It's okay, but he didn't ask me to buy one. He didn't even know I had one.
I didn't know shit.
But I went out to research him, was he was going to be on the platform. And I saw this. I bought it. I got it yesterday. I'm halfway through. It is, some books you get and it's like, oh, okay, this is boring. Last night, I'm like, I should have been asleep. I got it. I got in my bed and propped up. I read half of it, but it's very good. It's an easy read. It keeps your interest. It's very, very good. So you won't be disappointed if you get a copy.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And thank you so much. And don't, you sound like you might be a busy man, but I will be calling on you again. I really enjoyed our conversation.
I will always make time for you. I'm not that busy. I will always make time to have a 45-minute conversation.
Thank you so much. Well, everybody, we are here every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Let's Talk About It. This week, it'll be Tanya Ferguson and we're talking about doing less, better. Doing less, but better. We have been talking about over the last couple of months about how we rush and we make commitments to people, but because we are rushing and not keeping up with our calendars and not being committed to our word and keeping our word, that we let people down, we let ourselves down. And that's not the way we should operate. So we should take a better handle of when we tell somebody that we're going to do something, our yes should be yes. And we should be, take care of that. So we'll be talking about doing less, better. So just because you do a lot of things, that doesn't mean that you are getting a lot accomplished or doing those things that you need to do. What is it that God has you to do today? Every morning I say, God, what would you have me to do today? What great things are you going to lead me to do today? So I want to make sure I get some things done, but I want to get those things done that need to be done for the betterment of everybody, not just what I want to do. So please join us. And again, thank you so much, Mcarthur. Great. And thank everyone for tuning in. You enjoy the rest of your evening. Please remember that building your best life is our business. That's not a slogan. It's our commitment. I love you. Be blessed. Stay safe. And we'll see you hopefully on Thursday. Good night.
Good night.